All right. Up before 8 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday, the final morning, which sucks. This thing just don't last long enough, I'll tell you guys. Is Moody going to do the challenge? Moody is not going to do the challenge. Let's see.
Morning, folks. How we doing this morning?
They got plenty.
Everybody brought out a bushy tail or the last day of activities here? I'm not. I'd be lying if I said I was. But we'll be all right. Real quick, I wanted to make an announcement. It's too bad everybody's not here because somebody's going to miss it and say they didn't hear it, but they should have been here at 8 o'clock, I guess, with the whistle. We are going to have a Iron Youth Challenge as well as an Iron Man Challenge. So this will only be for kids 12 and under. Are only allowed to participate in this. Sign-ups for that will be here as well. I'll put it up here, and after classes, y'all can sign up for it. And we'll do it at 10 o'clock as well. 12 and under only, okay? We'll talk about that probably later. I gotta make a couple of arrangements first. Okay, so we got two classes going on this morning. We got one over here with the guys on meat preservation techniques. Darren Baird and these guys are very, very good at preserving meat. They preserve their own meat. He makes salt-cured bacon, salt-cured side meat, all kinds of good stuff. They know how to preserve fish. They know how to preserve fruits and vegetables, things like that. They know about canning. So anything you want to ask those guys, they can definitely tell you, I guarantee you. We're going to have a class right here real quick. For the next hour, we're going to talk about snaring. We're going to go out, we're going to set a couple snares this morning and just show you how you would set snares up. So if you're interested in the food class, it's over there. The snare class is over here. And we'll start in about 2 minutes here, just to give everybody time to get arranged. I promise you that. A snare cable, you really need cables for snares. You need wire cable. The least thing you're going to get away with very easily is going to be some kind of a multi-braided wire, like a picture wire, that's got 4, 5, 6 braids in it. That's pretty heavy duty. This will hold a small animal for a while. Okay, if you get a rabbit hung in this thing, he's going to be there when you get there. If you get a small possum hung in there, he'll be there. A squirrel, something like that. You get anything bigger than that hung in one of these picture wire snares, like a coon or a large possum, he's going to destroy this thing before you ever get there. It's very surprising how much damage those animals can do to a wire snare. And the other thing that most people don't realize is that snares are a one-time shot. You're going to use that thing one time, and it's going to be destroyed beyond use after that. Because what they do is they get hung up, they twist that thing around everything, they climb over branches, they tug on the snare, they twist it around the stake, and before you know it, you got a piece of spaghetti laying there that won't do anything anymore because it's all kinked up. So when people talk about, oh, I'm just going to put a dozen snares in my pack and I'm good to go. You might be good for a day or two, but beyond that, you're not. It's going to take 25 to even think about anything sustainable over a week. You're going to need like 25 snares. Everything with trapping is a game of percentages. The more traps you got, the better percentage you got of catching something. I'll give you a quick little account of a series that I did on YouTube. Part of it's still posted, part of it's in a virtual classroom, but I went out in the wintertime to do a experiment on cable snares, or on picture wire snares, like these right here. And I set up 10 of these in an area that there was absolutely no question about having rabbit sign. There was chews on the bark, trails in the snow, urine and scatting in the snow, all over the place in an area that was pretty good size. So I took 10 of these snares out there and I set them up. And I did it for 3 days, figuring 3-day scenario, how much food can I catch in 3 days. In those 3 days, I caught one rabbit that was a whole rabbit that I could eat. I had one rabbit that when I walked up to the rabbit, a red-tailed hawk flew off of him with his whole back end, and his head was in the snare, and his front end, and that's it. And I had a couple snares that were been snapped off where probably a coyote would come up and grab that rabbit and took off with him and broke the snare off. So in 3 days with 10 snares, I got lucky enough to get one rabbit in an area that was saturated with rabbit sign. I mean saturated. So to go out and think that you're going to be able to snare animals on a consistent basis, there's a lot of factors involved in that, and one of them is sheer numbers of snares that you put out. The other thing that you have to be very careful with is matching your snare to the animals that you're trying to cast, just like a trap. The snares that you guys made last night with Tony, we used this 7x7 cable because we wanted something that was big enough for y'all to get the process, understand how everything worked, understand how the locks worked, understand how the whammies were set up, understand the swivel points and all of that stuff. But this snare is for like coons and bigger. You're looking to get a 25-pound coon in this thing. You're not going to get a rabbit in this snare. You're never going to get a rabbit in this snare. It's just too stiff to get that thing to come down. I mean, that rabbit's neck ain't no bigger than that. And that's almost as tight as that thing's going to go, very easy. What you really want for animals is that you're trying to catch that are small is you want something like these snares that are made for like mink. And they really have to be, you really need to keep good care of snares. You can't just pile these things up and let them rust up. You have to take care of them because they have to be pretty fast. What you want is you want something that when you set that snare up, and see how that just dropped like that and slid right down that wire? That's what you want. You want something that when that thing is hung up on the snare stand and an animal touches it, it drops right around his neck. All you got to do is bump into it. He doesn't have to take off with it and yank it around his neck to get it to tighten up. As soon as he hits it, it drops around his neck, and as soon as he moves, it's tight. That's what you want. Something like this is going to be a good survival snare. Something like this will hold a 15-pound coon. He'll be there when you get there the next day. This snare is going to be no good, but he'll be there when you get there. Something like this, he's going to tear this apart. So you really need to get a good wire snare made for snaring animals. You want multiple cable wire.
So, Dave, what's the difference between the two? Because, like, from here visually,
They look the
that
same.
wire looks the same, or very similar.
Well, this is picture wire. So this
Okay.
is stuff made for hanging pictures in your house.
Sure.
Nothing industrial about that.
Okay.
This is like braided aircraft wire.
Okay.
This is like industrial stuff.
Does that have a size like 7x7?
Yeah, this is a, I want to say 4 by, what do they call it? 4 by 32. It's like four cable strands, and it's like a 32nd of an inch. That's what they call it. But if you, generally what they'll do when they sell snares is, they'll put names on them. For trappers, they'll say mink snare, bobcat snare, coyote snare. Anything that, then you can just think about the size of the animal with that. If you think a mink is about that big, okay, what else is that big? A squirrel's that big, a small coon will be that big, a rabbit will be that big, so I can use that snare for all those animals. Then if you're wanting something that's bigger, because you're trying to catch coons and things like that, then you want this. This will hold a coyote. This will hold a deer. There's no question about this. This 7x7 cable, this stuff will hold a deer. It's going to be alive when you get there, probably not very happy, but it'll hold a deer if you get something up in it for sure.
Just be careful where
So
you
that's
buy it
kind
at.
of the two mediums right there. You want either something this size or this
You
size.
got people over
It may be a
there that sell
combination
a
of the
damn
two.
snare that size and
Depending on what
say
you're
it's
trying
a
to catch.
mink snare.
But like I said, it's all a game of percentages. If you're going to try to snare animals, you're going to have to set up a lot of snares to get the job done. And that brings us to our next discussion of location, location, location. It's just like real estate. Snares are location. If I set the snare in the middle of this field, I'm never going to get an animal in it. You got to put this snare where the animal's going. You're not going to bait this snare, so you don't have anything to draw him in. You don't have anything to bring him to the snare. You have to put this snare where you know that animal's been walking all the time. Animals